Hello everyone! Just a few hours ago, Boom has released the full version of episode 76, and oh my god, the secret scene and the other details that he added in this full version of an episode were just insane. And although this full episode contained only one secret scene instead of multiple of them that Boom usually added in his full versions of episodes before, it was still extremely important for the future plot of the whole series. So that's what we will talk about today. And what's even more important is that I'll actually show you all the changes as I'll compare the original footage and the new version frame by frame. And to tell you even more, except for the crazy secret scene, we also got the deciphering of all the phrases that Astro Duchess was voicing out in the second part of the episode, and it revealed a lot about astrotoilets' special plan, and also about her character. So get your tea and snacks ready, and prepare to watch this video to the end, because what you'll learn today is going to be truly insane. And let's go. Okay, so sometimes the scenes and events of the original parts of the episodes may be left to be relatively untouched by Boom, as it happened a few times before, but let me tell you that it was not the case for today's full version of episode 76. So Boom actually changed parts of the dialogues of both TV men that we could see in the beginning of its second half, and of course he added the translation of words that Astro Duchess has said in the Skibidi language. So let's discuss everything step by step here. But before we will proceed any further, let me remind you to give this video a like because I appreciate your support a lot. And don't forget to also subscribe to my channel, as I really want to achieve my goal in having 500,000 subscribers by the end of this month. Okay, so if you subscribed now, let's move on to the changes in TV men's speech. So what really surprised me about this change by Boom is that he actually removed the first couple of phrases that TV men who teleported to the battlefield said in the really harsh and cruel way. So in the original second part of episode 76, they say, "Forget about them, they're useless." As well as, "Stop worrying about this useless trash."
Stop worrying about this useless trash.
And both of these phrases were apparently said to TV Woman, who had plans to actually teleport at least some of survived cameramen to the Alliance's base so that they would receive the help they needed after their injuries, because that's exactly what she has been doing in this series for months, due to her kindness and desire to help injured agents of the Alliance. So these two phrases actually meant two things in the original episode. The first thing meant that TV Woman was still really concerned about the fate of weakened agents, as she still had a lot of empathy inside of herself, just like Titan TV Man, which makes them different in comparison to the rest of TV men's race, who are really cold and cynical. And the second thing these phrases possibly meant is that TV Woman is not a leader of this TV men's squad, and in fact she even has to submit to the other TV men's orders, which seem to be pretty weird. Because wasn't she supposed to be one of the best and most powerful elite agents in the whole Alliance that could even make her one of its leaders at some point? But this scene proved otherwise, so that's why these phrases seemed really important to me, in my opinion. But in the full version of episode 76, Boom actually cut them off the initial script completely. And it's not the only change that I noticed about this scene. Do you remember how this TV man called the POV a fodder, which sounded really harsh too? Well, as you can see, in the full version, he doesn't cuss out the POV and the rest of the cameramen in any way, and instead he just states a simple fact with his new phrase, "Stay back. Samples are more important."
Samples more important.
So yeah, I was really surprised due to this major change. Maybe Boom changed the phrases of these TV men in order for them not to sound like quite obvious villains. But on the other hand, it doesn't really change the fact that they are villains in the eyes of the Alliance now. Or at least to the race of cameramen that could easily see their behavior on the battlefield as a betrayal. But I also have another theory regarding that change, and I'll explain it to you a little bit later. So be sure to watch this video to the end not to miss the most interesting part. Okay, and another important change that I've noticed is of course connected to the Astro Duchess herself, and what Boom did in the full episode actually shocked me. First of all, he changed her face model almost completely. Just compare her old face and the new face yourselves. So if in the second part of episode 76 she looked like basically the Eveline character from the game called Baldur's Gate 3, then in the full episode he started to look more like Jill from the game remake of Resident Evil 3. Her haircut and the shadows under her eyes definitely changed, and honestly she doesn't even really look that insane anymore. But what's even more important, is that Boom also changed the drawings on her face completely. The image on her forehead got to be redone completely, and now it resembles some kind of bomb more. And you know who it actually reminded me of? I remembered the mercenary who was able to basically shoot explosions out of his forehead from the animated series called The Last Airbender. And the image on his forehead really looked like what Astro Duchess has on her face now. And also considering that he's the most elite and powerful warrior in all of Astro faction up to this day, it is pretty plausible that she may actually have this unique fighting ability, and that she can even show it in the next episode she'll be featured in. But I also find it possible that Boom had to change the drawing on her face due to some external factors. For example, he had to do pretty much the same thing in the fourth part of episode 67, where he had to completely change the poster on the wall in the Skibidi bunker, as it resembled one pretty inappropriate political image. Okay, and Boom also deprived her of this little drawing on her chin, and I don't even know why. Maybe he considered these drawings to be way over the top so that he nerfed them a little bit. And that was not the only change connected to her character. I also found it funny how Boom completely removed the iconic scene with the POV's, machine oil pouring on her face, because apparently it was more of a troll scene, and Boom wanted to make the full version of the episode to be more serious. Well, at least that's what I'm thinking about. Okay, and now we're moving to the most important change in this full episode as it regards the actual words that Astro Duchess said in Skibidi language. So it turned out that the first thing that she told to the POV was translated as, "There is nothing you can do." And honestly, that phrase even sounded a little bit sad and not freaky at all. I mean, that was just plain truth coming from her. And then we see another change, as it turns out that the mad Skibidi who managed to appear behind her back yells to her, "Come here, wench!" And to that, Astro Duchess starts blasting him just as it was in original footage. But in the full version, she releases one more laser, which this time comes out of her mouth. And in that moment, somebody yells, "Stop torturing me!" And damn me if it wasn't Astro Duchess herself who said that. Because I really have an impression from this full episode that Boom decided to show this woman to be not as crazy as she could seem to us at first glance in the original episode. Maybe she actually has much more brains it appeared to us at first glance. And another change that I've noticed is how her eyes actually turned out to be black for a couple of seconds after her laser attack, while in the original footage her eyes stayed red all this time. Okay, and then we got the actual translation of the whole conversation between her and the UFO toilet, who actually distracted her from totally finishing the POV off. So he says to her, "Someone is tampering in our communication. Squad that was chasing a Titan is missing." And then he asks her, "You sure you want to participate?" To which the woman says, "I'm not missing out." And the UFO toilet then tells her to proceed with the plan, and they leave together. And now let me explain everything to you, and why it is so important for the future plot of the series. So first of all, what caught my attention is the fact that someone seems to break the communication in Astro Toilet's system. And I can think about only one person, and it is the secret agent. He can definitely mess with all sort of technologies, and that's why he can even turn on and off the cameramen's head cameras. And he's also against the Astro Toilets, who he considers to be a serious threat, so he could definitely disrupt some of their communication system. But there is even a crazier thought that occurred to me. What if the secret agent's influence was spreading not only towards the Astro Toilet's communication system, but also to the Alliance's systems as well? And that's why some of TV Men's words in the full version were basically cut off or totally changed. What if in reality TV Men didn't say anything terrible to Cameramen, but just teleported away with the samples? But Boom changed the communication system between the members of the Alliance and made everything look that way, like TV Men are total jerks and want to betray Cameramen? That's pretty much insane, but in such a case, the secret agent's plan could have caused a complete chaos within the ranks of the Alliance as well, which would also serve him right. Okay, and there is also another very important detail I got from this translated conversation. Who is this Titan the UFO toilet was referring to? Was it Titan Cameraman who actually turned out to be alive as he managed to escape the chase from the squad of astrotoilets? Or what would be even more exciting, what if he was already referring to G-Man as the Titan? As he could already be upgraded by TV men and fight somewhere on the battlefield with astrotoilets' forces. And that would basically mean that not only we will see the epically upgraded Titan G-Man fighting on the Alliance's side, but Astro Duchess will also join him in the next episode, and we will see some really insane fight between them. And who knows? Maybe we'll even learn something special about these two, considering that Astro Duchess and G-Man are actually sharing pretty lots of things in common. Okay, and now it's time to move on to the actual secret scene that was added in the end of this full episode. So after the POV eventually passes out from the critical damage that he received, his camera recording turns off and we are getting transported to the Cameramen's base, where a bunch of agents have been watching this whole translation. And we can see how Camerawoman is literally shaking as she is in total shock from everything she just had to witness. But I gotta say first, how good it is to see her without her coat. And the shirt she is wearing looks really similar to the original shirt that was worn by Human Kathy. And by the way, I noticed how she has a unique sign on her head camera which reads like Aldol 3K. And I didn't really manage to find some special information about it, so I'll just leave it hanging in there. And what I also noticed is the sign Somaya Tech on the machine behind those cameramen's backs. And this is the real company, and the model of this thing was also featured in the game called Half-Life Black Mesa. And apparently this is just a default model that Boom took from this game. Okay, and do you also recognize this one cameraman with the yellow tie standing next to Camerawoman? Because he was the one who was actually saved by her in the secret scene for episode 73, and he also missed one of his hands at that moment too. But in this secret scene, he already has a new hand. And to tell you even more, he was the one who helped her repair her own injured hand when it got ripped off. So it's really good to see him next to her in this scene. And of course, I couldn't help but notice this awesome black plunger, which is next to Camerawoman as well. And believe me, I'll also talk about it later. Then the whole crowd of cameramen turn around and we can see one of TV men who left the injured agents on the battlefield and teleported to the back with Astro's remains only. And he tells to the cameraman scientist, who also has the blue lens, analyze this thoroughly.
Analyze this thoroughly.
And based on the color of this guy's lens, this may be the main cameraman scientist in this facility, who is probably responsible for all the research stuff, only while Mecha scientist is more of a soldier who is developing some military upgrades for the Alliance. And by the way, in this moment, I also noticed DAL systems written on the tech behind another cameraman in the light blue shirt. And it seems to me that the atmosphere is getting really heated as this TV man receives a whole freaking TV set hitting his body. And I believe that it must have been Camerawoman herself who threw it to him, because she seemed to be really emotional a few seconds ago. And then the angered TV man gets hit with an even larger stuff, which this time came from this iconic red-shirted cameraman's direction. And to spice things up even more, he and the cameraman commander next to him also show this TV man a very inappropriate gesture that showcases everything they think about him. And by the way, I'm really glad to see this awesome big cameraman in the red shirt back to the series, as he's one of the oldest agents of the Alliance that had been in this series almost since its very start, and the last time we saw him in the secret scene where Detective Cameraman showed up for the first time. And to that the TV man eerily says, "You will regret it," and disappears. And man, this really sounded like a threat, didn't it? So the rest of Cameramen scientists turn to Camerawoman in shock, and she just exchanges glances with the cameraman next to her and gets the black plunger into her hands. And man, this scene really gave me chills. She is about to take the late plungerman's role onto herself now, doesn't she? And it also seems to me that the Alliance will face a serious discord with the TV men's race, and I can't even start thinking on how many possible plot arcs may come out of it. So I want to make a separate video with all of my theories regarding this plot twist. So stay tuned for the future updates. And that was all for today. Write in the comments below about how excited you are to see the next episode. And be sure to subscribe to my channel not to miss my new videos. And also to my Discord, where you can contact me directly and get lots of info for my subscribers only. And that was me, AstroToilet. See ya!